before we get any further, I do want to say really quickly that this is a tentative ruling, and I'll read the post that I made about it, but the ruling that everyone has seen is a tentative ruling. So basically, tentative rulings are what the judge thinks before a hearing. I saw a lot of people that don't seem to understand or know all of the details. So we'll get into that. Sorry about taking yesterday off. I had a lot of stuff to get in order, and then I went to the hearing. Um, and now we're here. Went to the hearing, now we're here. Okay. Basically, just to not waste time. Yeah, so we'll talk about it. I'll talk about the tentative ruling first, and then I will go from there to reading the actual document, and then I want to talk about some people. um, so yes, let's go bit by bit, and then I can try and explain sort of like what the next moves can be. Um, what's crazy is that you have a lawyer who's explaining to you how shit works. Like these armchair lawyers are so stupid. I will say, um, there is something very funny about the number of like YouTube lawyers that were like, there is literally no chance she loses on all factors. That like there is no judge that would ever for even a moment think this isn't a cut and dry case. It's like every case has a chance to lose, but like no chance. Like come on, dude. And I think some of them now are like, I actually was saying from the very beginning that she had a really good chance. It's like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. Why are you lying? The Dow. Why are you lying? What the heck? But anywho. Oh, also, I did want to talk about the Boar Pegasus thing. That Hassan being like, "Oh, interesting that that's how the laws are. Interesting. Hmm." And then More Pegasus immediately was like, I actually just kind of don't want to cover Hassan anymore. I realized that, like, I should cover things besides Hassan. It's like, isn't that convenient? You changed up real fast, didn't you? But anyways, I want to spread my content wings. I just wanted to do that, you know? So we'll talk about that as well. Put this here. Now, let's let me open up whew, the post. Let me pull this up, and then let me pull this up. I think this is probably the easiest way to find it. Hold. Okay, wait. No. All right. I'm late. No, you haven't missed anything yet. We're still good. We're still good. Perfect. All right, let's open this up. Excellent. Yes. Good. Denim suit era? No, I only have one suit and I'm not getting more, okay? They call me one suit denims for a reason, all right?
I don't like denims, like at all, because her camera is so fucking big and it bothers me.
That's actually true. All right. Close this stuff. Beautiful. Uh, you need a purple suit? Dude, true. Are all your haters more deranged than any other haters I've ever seen? What power do you have other than being a woman to cause this? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Put this bad boy here. Yes, good. Why is there so much camera? Her camera is so empty. All right, here we go. Good. Yes. Perfect. Ugh. Why is the dark reader on for this? Is that better? It is a little better. All right. Good enough for today. Whew. Now, let's go, shall we? First and foremost, for anyone who's sort of only in the loop and doesn't know exactly what's happening, um, about a month or two ago, my legal team filed a motion for judgment on the pleadings, which is basically, it's very similar to a motion to dismiss. You're basically telling the judge, like, you can just assume everything that the plaintiff is saying is accurate and is factually correct. And even despite that, the facts of the case favor us, and you should rule on it now. And you should rule on the pleadings. And that's what we filed about like a month or two ago. And unfortunately, with legal matters, honestly, with this, like for a federal court, this is pretty fast. Everything has been developing really fast, even though it's like a federal court, which is really cool. This went fast. I'm a lawyer, by the way. So I have been pretty happy about it because we originally, I heard you wouldn't get a hearing until October. Well, originally that would be for like a summary judgment, but we decided to move forward with a motion for judgment on the pleadings instead, or like not instead, but immediately. And then we did. And I saw a lot of people saying that Ethan still has to reply or whatever. But the reality is I'll just pull it up. I think that's the easiest way to show you guys. I think this. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah, so we filed our motion for judgment on the pleadings. I believe this is the day, April 17th. Or we either did it on the 15th or the 17th, I don't remember, but this is when the court took notice of it. And then they replied on May 1st. So we issued a document. Here it is. I'll pull these documents up. I think this one might be it. Or it might be this one. So yeah, this was our original document for motion for judgment on the pleadings. This was the original one that we had filed. And then 2 weeks later, Ethan replied, basically making their arguments on why they disagree. And then we replied back, obviously. So they made the arguments that they wanted to make in this reply basically a month ago. So the hearing is basically the most layman way to explain it is that the hearing is just in case the judge feels like there was something that was missed, or in case you feel like the judge missed something, you can talk about it. And sometimes judges will release tentative rulings, and the tentative ruling is basically saying, this is how I'm probably going to end up ruling on this. We're still going to have the hearing anyways in case there's anything left to think about, and then we'll have like a final ruling. So this was so I wanted to read this out. This is what I posted yesterday. What a crazy 24 hours, man. The tentative ruling feels a little surreal. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who has supported me, believed in me, helped me get here. I could not have done this without all of you. For those who are unfamiliar, tentative rulings are sometimes published in advance of hearings in the interest of streamlining the hearing. The tentative ruling is the position of the court before the hearing, so the fact that the tentative ruling is to grant my motion for judgment is incredible news. The hearing was earlier today, and the judge has taken the matter under submission, and an official ruling will be issued, hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm feeling very optimistic. I'll be going over the document tomorrow on stream. So, yeah, the judge basically, the hearing was on the 5th, on Friday, and the judge released this document on, I believe, the 4th? I believe it was the 4th. Yeah. And the tentative ruling basically says that they want to grant the motion for judgment on the pleadings and that they find that my work is fair use. And a big reason why tentative rulings are so important is because it's very rare that they are changed. So here is the tentative ruling. I figured that we could just read it together and we can go over everything. I make 6 figures selling YouTubers. Denims is cooked thumbnails. What am I gonna do? Yeah, so reversal is pretty rare. It's yeah, it's pretty rare. But the other thing too is the content of the ruling is very good for me. And a lot of it is very damning, I would say, for Ethan's case. And the fact or the idea that, like, it's not impossible that a judge can overrule, or like not overrule, but that the judge can change their ruling or change the decision, the original decision. But your lawyer would have to provide like a lot of evidence to convince the judge not to rule that way. So I feel really good. Oh, all right. So we could go ahead and read into it. Oh, and then something else that's very important. So it could be anywhere. So just so we're all on the same page.
Shut up, socialist.
So we still have to wait anywhere from 2 days to 2 months for the judge to officially publish a final ruling. Right? So maybe on Monday we'll figure out what the final ruling is. Maybe next week, maybe the next week after that. I don't have a time, unfortunately. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to wait for, I guess. And even if the tentative ruling goes through, Ethan could potentially still appeal.
Shut up, socialist.
I have to say, one really sad thing about, I almost feel a little bit bad for Ethan because a lot of the people that are on his side are some of like the most anti-Semitic people I've ever seen in my life. Like it's kind of like unbelievably disgusting that like if these are the people rooting for you, man, I would hope that there would be some introspection. But anyways, yeah, so we still have to wait for the tentative ruling to go through. It's pretty rare that tentative rulings get changed. Need water. Okay. If it doesn't get changed, Ethan can still appeal. And then, if he appeals, obviously the case would go on even longer. But if he doesn't appeal, there is technically still the other case. So he's suing me for the content nuke, but he's also suing me for the countdown episode, the podcast episode before the content nuke. As you guys would imagine, the reason he hasn't really focused at all and talked about the content, the episode at all, is because I think it's a lot harder to drum up support for the episode, especially when like he has spent all that time saying like, I'm releasing my copyright. Like, no. Like it's totally fine. Like you can watch my episode. I'm not gonna. So yeah. And like, especially after his debate with XQC, where he was talking about what the thing that he really wants to defend is like YouTubers that put a lot of like time and soul and heart into a video. And then like one streamer watches it and says like 5 words or whatever. But that's not the spirit of like the episode. So he hasn't really talked about it at all, but that is technically still on the table. So yeah, there's still like
Shut up, socialist.
there is still a journey, okay? But we just don't know what's going to happen yet until I don't know, we find out where this motion goes. Well, you have to pay your attorney's fee if the judge rules in your favor. It depends. It just depends. We have to see what happens. And then I just can't, like, there's still so many factors at play because of this other lawsuit or because of the second part of the lawsuit. And there is still so much at play because he can still appeal. So, yeah, there's still a lot to get to before we can do that. Mike seemed to find that unlikely, but it's possible. Yeah. So, also, a lot of people seem to think, it makes me happy to see, but a lot of people seem to be like, you can sue him now for all of the money in the world. But the reality is, like, if I was to get any money back, it would be for lawyer fees and only lawyer fees. Unless I would start a whole new lawsuit. But, yeah. So, are you going to get to demand a ridiculous on-camera apology? Well, no, because that would be part of a settlement. And I don't see why would he go for a settlement like that when he can just drop the lawsuit, right? A judge can't, like, require someone do something. You can only personally sign off on a settlement. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, there's a lot to still discuss and still get to, and it's not over till it's over, is what I'm saying. But everything is boding really, really well right now. So I figure we can get into this, and then we'll go from there. All right. Okay. Suing people is very expensive, chat. Well, it's not even that. It's not just that it's expensive. It's just that it's like very time consuming, right? So like the reason why settlements are really popular is because technically you're gambling when you take something to court, right? Because you don't know how a judge will rule on it. And then also the fact that this is like a public lawsuit, like sorry, all lawsuits. Well, I don't actually know if all lawsuits are public. I'm pretty sure all lawsuits are public, but when I say public lawsuit, I mean it's in the public eye and people are talking about it all the time versus like, you know, some random dispute between you and another person. So there is not just like you have to have the stamina for the court, but then you also have to have the stamina for like the internet, right? I can't believe these people are still sending these messages, by the way. Most of these people, I think, have finally grown a brain and stopped, but it's funny that these people are still saying it. Probably not a gamble in this case. You don't have a chance of winning. Please don't go to trial. Please. The last of the foot fungi. Please don't go to trial. Oh my God. One important thing to note about fair use, everyone, is that there are like the 4 pillars of fair use, and the most important one is whether or not like the work feels basically transformative. And this is actually one of the very few places in a court of law where it's very much so like a you know it when you see it sort of thing. Because there isn't like an objective measure that is used. And in fact, courts have said explicitly that there should not be an objective measure used for transformativeness. Like, you don't have to meet a particular quota, right? Of like words said or level of transformative, right? You know when something feels transformative and you can explain why it feels transformative. And then obviously the opposition's job is to say, no, it's not because this and this and this, right? But, yeah, so we will see what will happen, but we will get to everything bit by bit. Let's go. let's go from here. So again, this is the tentative motion. So the tentative motion can still be changed. It's just pretty.
Because I heard camera is so fucking big and it bothers me.
Guys, funny thing for the 5 gift subs. It's just pretty unlikely, and it's uncommon that tentative motions are changed. Okay.
I don't like Denims, like, at all, because I heard camera is so fucking
Anonymous,
big
thank you for
and
the
it
5
bothers
gift
me.
subs. Thank you. All right. The court is in receipt of the defendant's motion for judgment on the pleadings. The court heard oral arguments on June 5th, 2026. For the reasons explained here, the court grants the motion. Background: plaintiff TED Entertainment sued defendant Denims. Plaintiff brings the following claims for relief: direct copyright infringement against Denims and contributory copyright infringement against the H3 Snark mods. So yeah, one important thing also is that there's like, this is kind of like a 3-prong lawsuit where I'm being sued for copyright infringement, or he's alleging copyright infringement of the nuke and of his podcast episode before he released the nuke countdown episode. And then he's also suing the H3 Snark mods for contributory content copyright infringement. So the mods linked to my stream, and therefore they also are, they had contributory copyright infringement. But like, yeah, all right. We'll get into all the cope after the reading of the document. All right, let's continue. How is that your fault though? Well, I'm not responsible for that. Like, that's not, but they're getting sued for that, right? All right. Plaintiff is a production company that produces content for social media, namely YouTube. Defendant is an online streamer who releases content on social media platforms, namely Twitch. Plaintiff, through its owner YouTuber Ethan Klein, filed this action seeking statutory damages against the defendant for her alleged live stream reaction to the plaintiff's tragicomic documentary entitled Content Nuke Hassan Piker, The Nuke. Posted on plaintiff's YouTube channel, January 31st, 2025, the nuke centered on allegedly controversial political ideologies of the alt-left Twitch streamer Hassan Piker regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. The nuke contains, quote, original footage, highly edited montages, parodic skits, and archival materials. The nuke can be divided into 7 sections. The prologue, the Twitch parody sketch, the Houthi section, the Hezbollah section, the Hamas section, the Twitch section, and the conclusion. It contains original footage, highly edited montages, parodic skits, and archival materials. One sec. Hold up. Get my tea. Pausers. It's a rarity. All right, continuing. The first section walks the audience through Ethan's thesis of the nuke, that Hassan radicalizes his audience with genocidal and anti-Semitic terrorist propaganda. The second section involves a parody, mocking how Twitch has embraced Hassan's extremist rhetoric. The third section focuses on how Piker allegedly radicalizes his audience by glorifying and disseminating Houthi propaganda. The fourth section focuses on Piker's interactions with Hezbollah propaganda. The fifth section focuses on Piker's interactions with Hamas propaganda. And the sixth section explores Twitch's alleged role in enabling Piker to violate Twitch's community guidelines. Hassan personally did this. 1 second. Wait, suit denims, holy. Dude, I want to take the blazer off. But I feel like it's too much aura. It's not a suit without a blazer. That's what I'm saying. All right. Oh, I should have just had the stream be called Suit Saturday. Okay, moving on. Where were we? In the final section, Ethan Klein presents the two motivations behind the nuke, which are to stop Hassan's infiltration of mainstream media. How did that work out? And to hold Twitch accountable for enabling anti-Semitic and anti-Israel animus on its platform. And again, I have to say, like, is it not obscene that it is the people who I feel like the people that I've run into on the internet who are some of the most anti-Semitic people I have ever seen in my life. Those are the people that are on Ethan's side. Like, I feel like when people talk about Ethan Klein and they talk about his lawsuits, they say that it's like frivolous lawsuits and he's just targeting people that he thinks are weaker than him and that's why he's targeting them. And then the people on Ethan's side are like using every they're coming up with new anti-Semitic slurs to be like, yeah, the blank should sue her. It's like, oh my God. What the? Anti-Israel's doing all the heavy lifting in that sentence? Yeah. Yeah. But moving on. The film aims to expose how Piker radicalizes people online to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli. Also, may I just say, like, so many Zoomers today are anti-Israel, or at the very least, anti-funding of Israel's war machine and Israel's genocide. And I promise you, the majority of people are not watching fucking Hassan, all right? His head is too small, and it bothers people. Like, it's not, the idea that Hassan is driving all of these people is just, whatever. Why am I litigating the content? I already did that in the first reaction. Why am I doing it now? All right. Criticizes Twitch as a platform. Plaintiff submitted its application to register the nuke with the United States Copyright Office, which, dude, it was great theater. It really, I think, added to like the internet value of the, or like the content value of that video where he announced he was suing people, to be like, and then I registered the nuke with the United States Copyright Office. It's like, okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, I can't resist. I can't resist. Transformation goes out the window when prior to the stream you say, hey, watch this so he doesn't get the views revenue. I didn't say that. I said, I will be streaming. And at the end of the video, I said, if you like not watching that shitty video. So not only did I not say that, but I would love for you to look at the 4 pillars of fair use and show me where malice is mentioned. Show me where malice is mentioned. Please, please, please. I do wonder if the cope will continue as the case proceeds even further. I guess we'll just find out. You should transform them from a chatter to a banned chatter. I think they might be just like, the problem is that I think in order to be a Denims hater, you have to be kind of stupid. Because, like, this guy is just, he's not capable of understanding English sentences, right? I don't think you have to be pro-Ethan to be against what you, Frogan, and Casey did. I didn't say that. I said the people, some of the most anti-Semitic people I've ever seen in my life are pro-Ethan. That's a whole new sentence, bitch. That is a whole new sentence. Me, squares are rectangles. You know, not all rectangles are squares. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'll pay the last one. What? I don't know what that means. Okay. Sure. Oh, so you hate rectangles, huh? Oh, so you fucking hate. She's rectangle phobic. She calls them rectors, guys. All right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hard R and everything. Yep. All right, continuing. Where were we? Throughout defendant's live stream, defendant provides commentary pertaining to the criticism of the nuke. Indeed, plaintiff states where the nuke seeks to expose how Piker radicalizes people online to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli. Denims attempts to use the nuke for the exact opposite purpose, to radicalize her audience to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli, along with defending Hassan. Now, I saw a lot of people with like either who were either being bad faith or stupid. And we're like, the judge literally called her anti-Semitic. Do we not see the quotes here? Do we not see the part where the statement says the plaintiff said, and then quotes? Is it both? I don't understand. Now, the other thing too is I've seen a lot of people also say, oh, so if you disagree with something, it's immediately fair use. No, it's just a part of it's just a piece of the puzzle, right? The fact that I used it for a totally different use suggests that the market would be different. It being transformative is still required. It's just helpful for the purpose of showing that the market was different. All right. During the live stream, the defendant contends that the nuke resembles a high school project or middle school project. I did say that. I did in fact say that. Defendant also complains about the documentary's editing, the sources the documentary relies upon, and supposed inconsistencies of Klein's statements, and that the video treats the audience as morons as it allegedly attempts to trick them. I also did say that as well. Well, there were I remember there were a lot of things in the original content nuke that were kind of obscene.
I don't like Denims, like, at all, because her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
Like, the presentation of, what's his name? Oh my god, I'm blanking. The Houthi kid. And just being like, well, there's a picture of him with a gun, and here he says he's a soldier, which means he's a terrorist. It's like, you don't use this standard for Americans. What the fuck? If the only requirement was someone calls themselves a soldier and they have a picture of them with a gun and they're a terrorist, like 50% of Americans are terrorists.
Her camera is so fucking big and it bothers me.
And it does bother me. So yeah. Yeah. And then there are things that he doesn't cite and
socialist.
You have a perfect size camera. No, those other cameras scare me. Yours is perfect. Stupid. Skill Cylinder, thank you for the 10 gifts up. Ginger, thank you for the 5. Eddie, thank you for the 5. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. All right. As further support of defendant's commentary throughout the live stream, the complaint states the defendant frequently makes comments that are later contradicted by the nuke itself. Now, what this entire paragraph is basically just saying is that in Ethan's lawsuit, he shows multiple instances of me commenting and disagreeing with him and, quote, transforming the content. Like, in his argument, he shows how I was criticizing his work. And it's a very key factor of fair use that what you say does not have to be correct. It does not have to be pleasant to listen to. You can do nothing but spout like nonsense and it's fine. The question is whether or not the work has become something new. Whether or not a 4-hour live stream where I say a bunch of wokey McWoke things has fundamentally changed the experience and fundamentally changed the work. Could we think about that? Like, is the viewer's experience the same if they watch your video versus the original video? Is that the test? That's very close to the test. Well, the test is more complicated than that, but you can simplify it down to, does it feel like the work is different? Right? Isn't claiming you're doing the opposite admitting that you've changed it correct? Well, again, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? Where market harm is most obvious is when the use of the work is exactly the same as the secondary usage of the work. This is actually the reason why, pretty comically, the reason why I've talked about how there are YouTubers that I don't really watch that much, because I just don't have enough to add to the work. We used to watch FD Signifier on stream, but the problem with watching FD Signifier is that a lot of the time I'm just like, yeah, based, yeah, based, yeah, based. And then it just becomes an Asmongold stream. And I'm like, because what he's saying is true. And it's hard to find things to criticize or things to add when bro is just spitting, right? Build upon, extrapolate on. And usually you'll find like a couple sections here and there and that's it, right? Whereas when you're watching something that you disagree with, there's so much to add. There's so much to go in and say, like, this is totally incorrect because of here, and then this is incorrect because of this, and this is incorrect because of this. So, continuing. Defendant offers further criticism of the subject documentary during her live stream. Following one of the documentary's creators' criticism of Piker's apologia of China's genocide of the Uyghurs, defendant comments on the treatment of the Uyghurs. So much of American media is focused on pointing out how evil China is. There's a typo here, stating that disabled Americans lose disability benefits when they get married, incarceration levels in the United States. Additionally, during the live stream, and then before I get any further,
Shut up, socialist.
I also see people talking about this and pretending like this is totally off base. One of the major arguments I've seen online is like, oh, so you can just go on unrelated tangents and it's totally okay and it's totally fine and that's fair use. It's like, no, it was a very related tangent unless you're a fucking idiot and you don't understand how tangents work. I'm talking about the treatment of Chinese people in China. And I'm saying that the standards that we use to criticize China are obscene relative to the standards we use to criticize America. In the United States, you criticize any part of America and you fucking hate America. You hate everything about America and you should move and pick up your bags and go to a communist China if you love a communist country if you love communist countries so much, right? But it's what's the copy pasta where it's like there was the original like China copy pasta and someone turned it into like the America copy pasta where it's like it's got I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. If someone has that copy pasta, please post it. Hold up. Very vague. Yes, someone got it. Very vague. It's okay. Because I know my homies got me. I know my homies got me. This one. Trail of Tears, Jim Crow, segregation, human rights, Citizens United, safety, high-speed rail, strong mass line, Republic of Hawaii, 13 colonies, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Edward Snowden, Scientology. There's one more that has Tulsa in it. Yeah, NSA, mass surveillance, Kent State Church of Scientology. Yep. This is the other one. The point being that like the purpose of that tangent was to say, isn't it crazy that when it comes to criticizing China, and because there is so much anti-China sentiment and there's so much Red Scare propaganda in the United States, that all you need to do is point at mistreatment of Chinese citizens and immediately just call it a genocide, even though these same exact people have no problem saying, you know, we should just really be careful when we call things a genocide. You know, are we just 100% sure that what's happening in Gaza is a genocide? I just think we should be a lot more careful. Like, is it bad? Yeah. And then when it comes to China, it's like, well, they're clearly genociding everyone. It's like, whoa, what's with the double standard? There is no doubt that there are plenty of articles talking about the mistreatment of Uyghurs, talking about the civil rights violation. To go from there to genocide is obscene, especially when your level of criticism for America is, yeah, it could just be better. Because I would argue that, and I don't think it would be very controversial to say, that modern day slavery is in the United States in the form of private prisons. It is unbelievably difficult for felons in the United States to rehabilitate and to reintegrate into society. Being a felon completely destroys so many employment opportunities, so many housing opportunities. And if you fuck up your life by having a gram of weed on you when it was illegal. And there are, by the way, still people sitting in the United States, in prisons in the United States today for having some weed on them. For having some weed on them. Not like a couple kilos of weed, just a couple joints. There are people who have gotten felonies for that, like whose lives are so destroyed because of that. And then if you look at within the prison system, we pay these people pennies on the dollars to do like factory work. Like it's obscene. If you want to, I don't like criticize China, sure, but if you only ever criticize countries when it's China, but you have no interest in criticizing the country that you actually pay taxes to, that actually funds any of what I would argue are civil rights violations, because they overwhelmingly target black and brown communities, then you don't actually care about calling out injustices in the world. You care about furthering anti-China propaganda. And I'm just over that. I'm just so over it. Right? But the point being, that's still a related point, but I've seen like the cope that it's like, she just goes off on tangents that don't make any sense because I'm an idiot and I didn't understand how those 2 points connected. It's like, well, that sounds like a personal problem, man. That doesn't sound like my fault. So we can continue. Additionally, during the live stream, defendant challenges Klein's perception of Piker's sentiments regarding the interaction between imports and fleeing of Jewish people from Israel, disputes Klein's accounts of the events, of the occurrence of sexual violence, of hostages, critiques Klein's discussion of Twitch's enforcement and moderation decisions, discusses her perspectives on Zionism and Judaism. All right, that was all pretty straightforward. I'm trying to think if there was anything I wanted to add to that. The judge is just basically saying, or at least this tentative ruling is basically saying that here are all the instances where you even agree. Here she is saying things to try and rebut what you said. All right, continuing. On June 19th, 2025, plaintiff filed the complaint. On April 17th, defendant filed the instant motion. So this is just a description of the facts. So Ethan filed his lawsuit June 19th, 2025. We filed our motion April 17th, 2026. So 2 months ago. To which plaintiff filed his opposition, to which defendant filed her reply. And again, this is what I mean when I say a lot of people are like, it's not over because Ethan hasn't even had a moment to make his argument. It's like, what? He had like 13 pages or something where he made his argument. Huh? Oh, hi, Wormy. Look at her. Oh, yes. What is it, Wormy? Yes, Wormy. You have been so annoying lately, Wormy. I don't know what's gotten into her, but she's not acting like a cat. She keeps acting like a dog, and it bothers me. She keeps like all day, every day, she just wants me to play with her, and then she meows, and she's so fucking loud. And of course, she never does it on camera because she's a good worm. She's so polite when there's company. All right. On May 1st, Squirma. What are you trying to tell me? Here, let's go here. Oh, good wormy. All right. I wish I could get her in frame. Unfortunately, moving the camera would require me to move so that she gets off of the frame, or like she'll get off me, but anyways. All right, maybe I am I must be super evil. I have a cat that I'm stroking while I'm playing my game, while I'm reading my motion. Maybe I'm the evil one. I've got the evil cat. No, she's not evil. She's so sweet. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Wormy. Are you trying to get fur all over my blazer? Yes. Good Wormy. All right. This is villain activity. Yeah. God, she's so weird. Why does she sit like this? She sits like such a freak. All right. Sorry, I want to reply to this. I guess I'm dumb, but how could you transform a video you can't edit? You're just doing your commentary and fact checks and such, or am I missing something? I mean, commentary and fact checking is transforming a video, right? Again, the court basically is asking whether or not it feels like the original film or the original movie or the original work is different. Maybe a better question to ask is if you were watching, if your friend was showing you a YouTube video, right? It's like a 30-minute YouTube video. And every 30 seconds, they're pausing and being like, okay, so what you need to understand about this is blah, 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 blah. And you're like, dude, can you just press play on the video? That person is impacting the original work, right? You are not experiencing the original work in its intended form because it keeps getting interrupted. So, yeah, that's what transform there means. Okay. Moving on. Continuing. Legal standard. This stuff is pretty boring. The legal standard section is pretty boring. It's just basically, maybe it's just because I've read so much of this stuff at this point. I've just read these same court cases over and over and over again. So they're just describing what the standards are for fair use. But we'll get through it. After the pleadings are closed, but early enough not to delay trial, a party may move for judgment on the pleadings. A motion for judgment on the pleadings under Rule 12C is functionally identical to a motion to dismiss, and the principal difference is the time of filing. So that's why I was saying earlier, the motion for judgment on the pleadings is effectively the same as a motion to dismiss. So we're effectively filing a motion to dismiss, and we're just telling the judge, hey, you should just dismiss this. Okay. Continuing, the same standard applies to motions brought under either rule. Thus, the issue presented by a Rule 12C motion is the same as that posed in a 12B6 motion, whether the factual allegations of the complaint state a plausible claim for relief. A claim has facial plausibility when the plaintiff pleads factual content that allows the court to draw a reasonable inference that the defendant is liable for misconduct alleged. In evaluating a motion for judgment on the pleadings, the court must accept all factual allegations in the complaint as true and construe them in the light most favorable to the non-moving party. So I see a lot of people being like, this is important for one thing, being like, oh, are you going to show the judge like when Ethan said this or when Ethan said that? Well, no, because a judgment on the pleadings means that we are only talking about the factual allegations in the original complaint. To bring up new evidence or like new information, that would have to be, I think, at summary judgment or at trial. But for a judgment on the pleadings, you are only talking about what is in the original complaint. Okay, hope that explains things a little bit. All right, we can skip ahead just a teeny weeny bit. For purposes of the motion, the allegation of the non-moving party must be accepted as true, while allegations of the moving party which have been denied are assumed to be false. Judgment on the pleadings is proper when the moving party clearly establishes on the face of the pleadings that no material issue of fact remains to be resolved, and that is entitled to judgment as a matter of law. So basically, this is like, yes, I do not disagree that I watched the content nuke and that I reacted to the content nuke on, January 31st, 2025. Yes, I agree that here are the areas where I paused. Yes, I agree that this happened here. Yes, you have not said anything I disagree with, and if there is something that I disagree with, we can make those statements. They can accept them as true, and then we can go from there. All right. Oh, Wormy. Oh, squirmy. Okay. Analysis. Defendant moves for judgment on the pleadings as to plaintiff's first claim for relief for direct copyright infringement to the nuke as based on the second affirmative. The note here is not that important. I can skim through it a little bit. Yeah, this is basically the gist of what the motion for judgment on the pleadings is. So if everything Ethan said is true, exactly as he said it, nothing Denims said is true, the law still doesn't favor Ethan, basically, effectively. Is she? I know I did not see Ethan in person. He was streaming. He was doing a show. Plaintiff requests that the court take judicial notice of specific documents and court records. First, plaintiff requests that the court take judicial notice of a video entitled The Big, the Bold, the Beautiful, which was a reaction video to the work Bold Guy versus Parkour Girl in Haas versus Klein. So this is Ethan Klein's original copyright case that he won. Likewise, plaintiff requests that the court take judicial notice of a video titled Bold Guy versus Parkour Girl, which was the plaintiff's work in Haas. This video title was also filed in the Haas case. The court finds it appropriate to take judicial notice of the existence of these two video files. So basically just the two videos of the original Ethan Klein court case. And then also request judicial notice of the complaint filed for Frogan and for Casey Tron. And then take notice of the H3 Snark Mod order by Honorable Sally Kim, and judicial notice of the video file for, I think this is Casey's case. Plaintiffs has not asked the court to take judicial notice of the truth of the contents of these videos. All right. Now, defendant moves for judgment on the pleadings as to plaintiff's first claim for relief for direct copyright infringement as to the nuke, based on the second affirmative defense of fair use as pled in defendant's answer. The fair use doctrine is an equitable rule of reason that permits courts to avoid rigid application of the copyright statute when on occasion it would stifle the very creativity which that law is designed to foster. So, TLDR, the judge was an antiseptic snacker. I saw antiseptic is the new word. It's pretty good. What was I trying to say? Oh, yeah. Basically, like, the entire purpose of copyright is to protect people's creative works. And when copyright becomes so rigid that other people cannot even interact with those works and create new original works, the copyright law is failing, effectively. So, I hope that makes sense. All right. The fair use of a copyrighted work for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research is not an infringement of copyright. So when you react to a work or you transform a work, it is not copyright infringement. It's fair use to do that. You can do that. We want to reward creativity, and if we are punishing creativity because the copyright rules are too stringent, they are not working effectively. All right, continuing. The four non-exclusive factors courts consider when determining fair use are: 1, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for a non-profit educational purposes. So the first factor is the most important. Basically, it's saying, like, what is the purpose and character of the use, and what does the use feel like? So the new product that was created, what does that new product feel like? So someone, for example, burning, no one does this anymore, but like someone, for example, burning copies of, The Little Mermaid and selling them. That the purpose and character of that use, there's nothing transformative there. That purpose of the use is to sell this work and profit off of the same work for the original. There's nothing that's been added there, right? Whereas the purpose of my work was to debunk his tragicomic documentary. That was the purpose of the work. And that is why people came to tune into the stream, because they wanted to see everything that Ethan said that was wrong and factually incorrect. And they wanted someone to break it down. That was the purpose. For a second, I thought you meant actual burning. No. What the hell is she doing? All right. The nature of the copyrighted work. The amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. And then Dr. Seuss versus Comic Mix, finding that the 4 factors set general principles, the application of which requires judicial balancing depending on the relevant circumstances. Fair use is a flexible concept, and its application may well vary depending on the context. Basically, that fair use is a sort of a rare instance in the law where it's you know it when you see it. You know whether something is fair use when you see it. You know when you watch a video that has a reaction, you know whether or not that feels like a new product or if it feels like the same product. Is Ethan still the free use king? Well, according to Casey Tron. So the porn argument, yeah. Oh, why are my ears so heavy? And that there shouldn't be rigid guidelines. All right. Additionally, when the copyrighted work and the alleged infringement are both before the court, capable of examining and comparison, non-infringement can be determined on motion for dismiss. The purpose and character of use. Transformative nature. Defendant moves for the judgment on the pleadings in part because of the transformative nature of her use. The first statutory factor examines the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for a non-profit educational purpose. This factor is taken on a heightened significance because it influences the lens through which we consider 2 other fair use factors. The central inquiry under the first factor is whether the new work is transformative. The term transformative does not appear in the statute, yet it permeates copyright analysis. Transformative works add something new to an existing work, endowing the first with new expression, meaning, or message. So, like, I would argue, I don't have the clip on hand. Maybe somebody else does. Do you guys remember when Ian put out the content cop on Ethan, and then Ethan reacted and he added something new to the work where he was like, oh, that plushie in the background. I gave him that plushie. We were real homies. We were real homies because of that. That added to my experience of the work. That was something that was in there that was not in the original work. And it made the rest of it cinema. It made the next 5 seconds cinema. I don't know that I have it. If someone has someone in here has to have the clip.
Bro looks like he just went to the menu and was like, I'll take that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Cringe, bro.
I forgot about the tattoo.
Well, I mean, so far, this is just pathetic.
What if he's suiting up to defend you? Maybe he agreed with that clip where he said,
Stop. No, not this. A little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. Okay, I think it's here.
Bro, just to give you an idea, he puts this here. This is like a extremely rare dunny that we gave them.
Okay, the plushie in the background, I guess, is called a dunny. I don't know. This is an extremely rare dunny that we gave them.
This is like ancient lore stuff, but like we made a special one just for them. Like actual friendship stuff. It's pretty nuts. Is this funny?
Yes. Like, tell me if you guys disagree. At the very least, this section of the video, that was additive. A new product was created that without his commentary, that clip was just weird. I was like, okay, I guess he's humping this pillow or whatever. Okay. And then he made the clip legendary. He is the legend. He transformed that clip and made us something new. It was way more, it was not funny before, and he made it funny with the commentary. Oh, Wormy. Good Wormy. So, like, that's the general idea about fair use. The general idea about fair use is, did the secondary usage of it create something new? I would argue in this case, there is something new that has been created. There was something new that was created. And that's also what I would argue about my stream. Going through every single piece and being like, yeah, this is incorrect because of this. This is incorrect because of that. I completely disagree. God, this editing is so cringe. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die of cringe. This is so silly. I can't believe this. Okay, so what you need to understand about this and this and this and this and this, there is something new that is created. All right, fair use on top of fair use, true. All right, let's continue. Transformative works add something new to an existing work, endowing the first with new expression, meaning, or message, rather than merely superseding the objects of the original creation. And then we have here, the court in Campbell held that the central purpose of this investigation is to see whether the new work merely supersedes the object of the original creation or instead adds something new with a further purpose or a different character, altering the first with new expression, meaning, or message. It asks, in other words, whether and to what extent the new work is transformative. In contrast, commentary that has no critical bearing on the substance or style of the original composition, which the alleged infringer merely uses to get attention or to avoid the drudgery of working up something fresh, the claim to fairness in borrowing from another's work diminishes accordingly. So basically, in the case of the content nuke, am I pulling up articles? Am I attempting to debunk the work? Am I attempting to have some factual basis for the statements that I'm making? Am I talking about how my day went? Like, do I pause and I say, so then I got my nails done, and then I petted Wormy, and then I went for a walk? Or do I pause it and say, this script is so awful. How is anyone falling for this fucking garbage? Okay, first of all, Ethan has said since day one, this and this, and Hassan has said since day one, this and this and this. Does the work have does the secondary use have some relation to the primary work? Which I would argue, yes. Yes, it does. I think that there was probably only like one tangent where I was talking about something totally irrelevant. All right. The court deems defendant's use as transformative. Throughout the live stream, defendant provides commentary pertaining to criticism of the nuke. Defendant contends that the nuke resembles a high school video project or a middle school project. During the subject live stream, defendant complains about the documentary's editing and that the video treats the audience as morons and is attempting to trick them. The complaint further states that she frequently makes comments that are later contradicted by the nuke itself. Why are you looking at me? Okay. Why did she just start looking at me? Notably, the fair use inquiry does not ask whether the criticism or parody of the copyrighted work is just or accurate or mean-spirited, but simply whether the use is of the kind that copyright is designed to protect. So let's go back to the Ethan example with the content cop. So he's showing off Ian's tattoos and he's like, Ian's tattoos are so ugly. It looks like he went into a shop and he just like said, give me that and that and that and that and that. Okay, I think he's incorrect. I actually really like Ian and Anissa's tattoos. I think the style is really good. I think they've held up really well. I think the colors are really nice. I think the lines are really sharp. He could be wrong about that. He could be wrong about his opinions on whether or not the tattoos are ugly. His comments are mean-spirited. They are meant only to criticize and mock how Ian looks. And that would still not make it not fair use. You can have comments that are mean. It's about, again, whether or not it's related to the original work in some meaningful way. W on the tentative win. How does the second claim work? It's still all really up in the air because, again, we just have to see how the judge officially rules on this before anything else proceeds. I had like some stuff that I was planning, but again, I can't really move forward with anything until the judge proceeds on a final ruling. But yeah, he can also still technically appeal, and there is still the other case about the episode, the podcast episode. But again, we're still gonna see, because like again, the biggest thing about lawsuits, especially for someone with money, so for Ethan, it's about the mental drain with a lawsuit. Because it is a lot of time and effort that goes into that. And like, you're always, when you're starting a lawsuit, you're always gambling that you might lose. And that's a risky gamble. That's why a lot of courts, or like a lot of cases, end in settlement. It's because a settlement isn't a gamble. No one is gambling. A settlement is, hey, neither of us want to lose, so what if both of us make out some type of agreement that works out for both of us, right? Also, hello, welcome, Raider. Shai Thembo, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. All right. What if we both make out? Stop. All right. Let's continue. And then they quote, or they cite Weinberg versus Dirty World, finding fair use where copyrighted image of a model was posted on a website with comments underneath, including, every time I saw her, I thought she's super ugly and awkward looking. I wonder how the model could get married to that rich guy and be a model. This is a totally different case that they're citing and just saying negative comments are within the realm of fair use. A comment being negative does not preclude it from being fair use commentary. Defendant offers other criticism on the subject documentary during her live stream, following one of the documentary creators' criticism of Piker's apologia of China's genocide of the Uyghurs. Defendant comments on the treatment of Uyghurs. So much of American media is focused on pointing out how evil China is, stating that disabled Americans lose benefits when they get married, incarceration levels in the United States. Additionally, during the live stream, the defendant challenges Klein's perception of Piker's sentiments regarding the interaction between imports and the fleeing of Jewish people from Israel. Disputes Klein's accounts of the events of sexual violence of hostages, which now that we have actually all of the reporting that shows that there was no systemic use of sexual violence on October 7th, I feel like my point stands pretty clearly. All right. Oh, thanks, Real Mercs Assassin. Thanks. Okay, continuing. Critiques Klein's discussion of Twitch's enforcement and moderation decision. Well, again, he keeps insisting that like Twitch is like this left-wing anti-Semitic platform, and that's why they're not banning Hassan. But it's like, dude, I literally saw a clip the other day of Asmongold saying, yeah, base to someone else making comments about black people being inferior. And I'm not joking. Like, Twitch has we care about the top earners on our platform. That's the problem that Twitch has. Twitch has our biggest streamers get a lot more of a lax treatment about bans. That also includes Hassan and every other large creator. Wormy. Okay, she freed me. Oh, my leg. Oh, my leg. All right. Ooh. Okay, continuing. Let me take a sip of water. A lot of reading today. He also went on a pro-eugenics rant about people with Down syndrome. Like, if Twitch's policy was, we're going to enforce the rules perfectly, there are so many creators that would be banned or would have been banned at this point. The reality is Twitch, their enforcement is much more stringent when you're a smaller creator and way more lax when you're a larger creator. Copium. You support a pedophile dog abuser. I'm not supporting pedotroll. That's you. Getting a small win, omegalol, is needed for your mental health. Copium. That's incredible, Cope. That is amazing, Cope. Just you know what? Just don't overdose, man. Just don't overdose, all right? Just don't OD. All right. Huh? Is this sarcasm? Is this chatter being sarcastic? Again, what Israel's doing is not a genocide? Wait, you're just memeing around, right? You're just memeing around, right? Oh, okay. I think I understand. I understand. They're saying, okay. I was like, you've been around for a while. Like, I'm scared. They're saying, how can you say what's happening in China is a genocide, but then you have the audacity to say, what Israel's doing is not a genocide, though? Okay. Whew. You stressed me out, chatter. Sorry to pull you up. I was like, but you're a good chatter. You're a good chatter. Oh, sweaty. As someone who works in law, that was the first tentative ruling I've seen where the judge cited the plaintiff's complaint in order to rule in favor of the defendant. I think this is just my personal conjecture, all right? But I think that the original document was meant to be primarily public facing, and I think Ethan didn't want necessarily any of this to go to court. I think he wanted all of it to just be public court, which is why so much of it reads as like, here's everything that she said that was wrong. I can't believe she said this. I can't believe she said that. Why would she say this? She's an idiot. How could she say any of these things? That and a combination of like potentially, well, it's a 70-page document, so finding a lawyer that will read it and debunk it and argue it will be really time consuming and expensive. This is, again, like I said, this is just conjecture on my part. This is just my opinion. But I do think that he didn't maybe anticipate the fact that him pointing out all of the times that I push back against him, quote, incorrectly, doesn't help his case of copyright infringement because because the fair use doesn't need to be, you don't actually need to say anything that's correct for it to still be fair use. Like, look at literally every single anti-SJW channel. Everything that they say is an anti-woke channel. Everything that those people like, more Pegasus slop. The majority of those videos are all just slop. Like, what he's saying isn't even true. It's literally not true. Now, it might be so not true that it's defamation, but it's definitely not copyright infringement. At the very least, it's definitely fair use. Like, it is adding something. It's adding a bunch of garbage, but it's adding something. All right. Good luck out there. All right. Telltale signs. The court finds defendant's criticism and commentary within the live stream video to demonstrate the following telltale signs of transformative use. 1. Further purpose or different character in the defendant's work, i.e. the creation of new information, new aesthetic, new insights, and understanding. So basically, the goal of my work was to debunk Ethan Klein's content nuke. It was to say, Ethan has been repackaging this garbage, this anti-Hassan rhetoric for so long. I thought he would come up with something new. And I remember even saying, you guys can fact check me on this or not. I remember even saying, surely he's going to put something new in this video, right? He didn't hype up this video for as long as he did. And he's just going to say, not like nothing that he hasn't already said, right? And then it was just all, it was like the Houthi kid. And then it was just honestly, can you imagine how much of the time it would have been? How much of that video would have been about the dog if Kaya Gate was before that video? Holy. All right, continuing. Where were we? Yes. And 2, the use of quoted matter as raw material instead of repackaging it and merely superseding the object of the original creation. Basically, that I did my best to let him make his full points and then respond to them and rebut them to the best of my ability. The undisputed purpose. Yeah. Dude, isn't this so true? I was newer to all this, and it was amazing they have all these clips saved on their phones from Hassan for years. You could solve real issues with that kind of dedication. If some of the Hassan haters spent like a fraction of the energy that they spend stalking and cyber stalking Hassan and being obsessed with Hassan, their lives would be good. And they would have friends and family and like hobbies that gave them pleasure. But they're too busy spending all of their time being obsessed with Hassan Piker. It's like, it's actually really depressing. But anywho, continuing. Let's get back to the soup. The undisputed purpose of the defendant's livestream is to contest, criticize, and mock the plaintiff's message, which the courts have found weighs in favor of fair use due to its transformative nature. Basically, when you're criticizing a work, it's much easier to transform that work than when you're agreeing with the work, right? Now, it's not to say that if you're agreeing with a work, it can't be transformative. If I'm watching a video about trains and I go into these diatribes about how, you know, this particular train model is very efficient because all of the research has shown that this and this and this, and then I press play, that's still, you know, and then I do the same thing and then they show something else, and then I do the same, and I'm like, okay, well, these particular, oh, that's an interesting train rail. These rails have been used since like 1938, and these are actually some of the best train rails for like this and this and this. That's still transforming it, even if I'm agreeing with the entire work. However, and you guys can probably agree with this pretty easily, even as just like, you know, people who watch React content, when someone is disagreeing with a work, when you are disagreeing with a work, it's so much easier to find more things to say, right? When you're watching something and you're like, no, that's incorrect. That's wrong. Wait, that's totally incorrect. It's a lot easier to find the information to transform the content when you're mocking or criticizing a work. And they even proceed to cite Ethan Klein's case, saying that the first factor weighed in Ethan Klein's favor in his original case against Haas, as the defendant's reaction video was quintessential criticism and comment, finding transformative use where host reacted to and commented on original videos. That when he was watching that video, sorry, okay, do me a favor and shut the fuck, you know, you can just say shut the fuck up, you know, you can say, you don't have to censor your words. You can say STFU, or you can even write the word fuck in here. You can actually, you don't have to be scared. It's not a scary word. And also in response to that, no Omega lol. No. Oh God. All right, continuing. Oh, so when I'm reacting and I'm transforming, it's all, oh, pausums, pausums, shut up, you're talking too much, stop talking so much. And then when I'm not, it's like, you're not reacting hard enough. Pick one already, goddammit. All right, moving onward. Where were we? Yes, quintessential criticism, finding transformative use where the host reacted to and commented on original video. Again, basically saying that when you are reacting to a work and you're disagreeing and you're arguing the entire time, it's a lot easier to find how that's transformative. Because even in Ethan Klein's works, like he doesn't say anything of substance against the Haas video, right? He doesn't like comment on why something isn't or isn't parkour. He doesn't explain like the details of parkour. He's not a parkour expert. He just says, God, this guy is so fucking cringe. Look at him. I bet he thinks he's so cool. And that's the whole video. The whole video is him goofing on him, memeing on him, making fun of him. And that passes fair use. Your work can be exclusively just criticizing and mocking someone, and that can still be transformative. In fact, it can weigh in favor. All right, let's continue. Where were we? So this was the case that I was pretty excited about, and I wanted to talk about it for a very long time, but, you know,
like Denims,
I had to wait.
At all, because her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
Hack Snacks, thank you so much for the 10 gift subs. Joel, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you.
Shut up, socialist.
Congrats on this. I was almost gaslit into believing the other side must have had some merit based on how adamant some of these guys were online. Just a pack of dummies, honestly. Didn't know you were in the toilet for most of the video, according to some people on Reddit. My favorite part about the copers on Reddit is the people, or like not on Reddit, but just anywhere, the people being like, oh, so you can pause a video and stare at the camera and say nothing, and that's transforming it. It's like, you have lost your mind so thoroughly. You think I spent 2 hours doing this? Like, how disconnected from reality do you have to be? God forbid you go and watch the original reaction. God forbid you see something that might prove you wrong. Oh my God. Continuing. I was thinking about like going in and doing like getting a transcript and seeing how many words I said, but then I realized the goalpost would just shift to like, well, how many of those words were relevant? So this really is you can only have that opinion if you're so stupid and lazy that you don't want to go and watch the original video. That's the only way you can have that opinion. So if you're still going to keep coping the entire way through, then that is what it is. I went and I watched it on 2X yesterday, and it took 3 minutes to be like, yeah, this is obviously transformative. Well, again, that's because, that's why...
Because her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
That's why a big part of the test is very much so like does this, when you're consuming it, does it feel like a new product? Yeah. Did you go to the hearing yesterday? I did. I did go to the hearing. Are you going to be able to get your legal fees back? It's just too up in the air right now to make any comments about that. It's possible, but it's also like, it depends on, sorry, thinking about the sentences. I was thinking about something else for a second. It depends on whether or not this gets appealed. It depends on whether or not
rolls are gone, people.
There will be how the next lawsuit will proceed. It depends on a lot of factors. So we'll see. GB Cats, thank you so much for the 50 gift subs. Let's go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Since you're already in your suit, can we review the NMP divorce result video next? Why did he make that video? Sorry, I'm going to be very honest. And you know what? I've always said, if you can dish it out, you should be able to take it. And I've never had an issue ever with people criticizing me. Go for it. I might criticize you back and say you're a loser. But as far as I'm concerned, if you make content on the internet and I make content on the internet and you want to make a video calling me an idiot and a dumb bitch, go for it, man. Go for it. Sure. I think it's fair. I think especially if your content is making fun of other people and their content, I think it's fair game. I think it's fair game. I've never had an issue with that. So I'm going to criticize NMP, and if he wants to criticize me back, he's more than welcome to. No, you mean to tell me that divorce lawyers are going to try and get terms that are best for their client that are unfair to you? Shocking. Sorry, I watched it. I was so bored the entire way. I was like, wow, she tried to get more money from you. I personally am shocked that a divorce lawyer would do that. I'm personally shocked that a divorce lawyer would do that. It's like, that's what divorce lawyers do. Divorce lawyers are just like, yeah, and you should also ask for this, and this, and this, and this, and also this, and also this. Like, that's, you know. Wake reacted to the video. People were being so disgusting towards Melina in his chat. I mean, again, it's like, you're going to defer to your lawyers, right? And I have heard that divorce lawyers are particularly skeevy. I guess I haven't dealt with a divorce lawyer yet. So maybe sometime in the future, I'll keep you guys in the loop. Never say never, am I right? But yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Right? Can't you argue that returning your lawyer fees would be in the interest of the public good, as that would allow you to finally afford to buy Expedition 33 and play it on stream? You know, I think that might work. I think that might work on a job. Stupid. All right. No, but I just don't. Also, divorce court is something that doesn't really impact the rest of the internet. Copyright law does impact the rest of the internet, which is something else I'm going to get into very shortly, which is, it's actually crazy how many people benefit from, like, there are so many content creators that benefit from having more fair use protections. So many of these people, so many, ironically, slop tubers that rely on fair use don't seem to give a fuck about fair use potentially degrading against their best interest. Don't you think it was dumb to spend millions to get an extra $15,000? Who? NMP? I don't know who you're talking about. You're not talking about me, right? That would be silly, right? It has to be about Milena. I don't know how much she spent. And I between both of them, no, I'm not talking about you. Okay. Yeah, but like, again, it just doesn't, like, what am I supposed to do with that information? Shove it up my ass? Like, oh, how could they spend a bunch of money on divorce lawyers? They should have just come to a conclusion without the lawyers. Okay. I think it's just like slightly like a bit of a who cares situation. Like, like I could say the same thing. I don't know. Anyways, they were married, yeah. Well, I think she's originally from some European country. I don't know which one. Norway, I think. So she probably needed papers if she wanted to be here. And if you're already together and you want to spend more time together, why wouldn't you get married so that you can be together? Okay, moving on from that case. I just don't really care about the case that much. Sorry you had to go through that to both parties. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I think that's the weirdest thing about that stuff being public. It's like, now what? Like, I don't know. Like, now what? Doesn't really impact anyone's life. It impacted their lives, obviously, but all right. Okay, moving on. Back to things that relate to the internet. The facts here closely align with those in Stebbins versus Alphabet. In Stebbins, the court found that the subject live streams to be highly transformative works because the live streams involved the viewing of the subject video for seconds at a time before pausing to respond and critique the subject video. So Basically, there is this case, Stebbins v. Alphabet, and this guy made a video about Fallout 4. I think it was about one of the Fallout games. I think it was Fallout 4. And this other YouTubers reacted to it, and they did this long, extensive react, and they watched the whole thing on their live stream. And the people reacting won their lawsuit. And we obviously cited it because it's relevant work. Because it's one of the few cases that have been litigated in court about a live streamer using a video and reacting. And they found that basically using the entire work did not hurt their case because they transformed it. All right. The subject video created by the plaintiff provided by the plaintiff's analysis and opinion regarding a video game. The live streams, however, provided commentary on the subject video as well as several additional hours regarding other videos produced by the plaintiffs and his comments thereon. The relevant live stream in Stebbins paused and commented on the plaintiff's retrospective. The video is called, I think, retrospective, with the purpose of reviewing or mocking the video. The criticism is at the heart of the fair use doctrine, and it would lose meaning without the reproduction of the plaintiff's video. Basically, if you're reacting to a video, you're live streaming your react to a video. You can't just not show the video, right? The video is important for the commentary. So if I start going on a tangent and talking about how, like, people don't levy this type of criticism towards the United States, they only ever levy it towards, our political enemies. If I didn't show the original clip, or if I didn't show the original stream, or I didn't show the original documentary, or tragicomic documentary, or whatever, it would be like, why are you saying this? Watching the original content, playing the original content is important for reacting to the original content, right? And yeah, you can, like, I don't know, maybe provide a full transcript of the video and then react to the transcript of the video. But unfortunately, then you lose some of the tone that was there in the original video, right? So if he says a comment like, I love Hassan Piker, and it's very clearly sarcastic, and you're only reading the transcript, maybe you're not getting the full meaning of the original video. And then, of course, there's the fact that, and you guys know this, although I don't know how much of this can be used as an actual legal argument. Sorry, 1 second. We'll get into that in a second. When you're debunking a work that's supposed to destroy someone's credibility, if you skip through parts of it, you're not debunking the work. You're only debunking the part of the work that is easy for you to debunk, and you're a coward, and you don't actually care about committing to debunking this work. You only care about making your side look good, right? My goal is to go through the video fully and explain why everything about it is completely wrong. That there is, yeah, it's like when Ethan skipped the button segment of the Content Cop. Yeah, and I mean, everybody saw him skip the Content Cop button part, and they're like, you skipped the most important part. The part where you refuse to have any accountability ever. That was that was arguably the most important part. Like, go back, watch that part, watch it, and actually, like, at the very least, say nothing. At least, come face to face with the fact that you have nothing to say, that you have no comment. At least hold up the mirror, right? And I think that that's part of, like, the debunking of a documentary or a movie or a work or whatever he wants to call it, whatever he wants to call the content nuke. You're explaining why in totality the video is bad. And you cannot in totality explain why the video is wrong and bad unless you go through every single part in as much detail as possible. Right? And I think everybody in here knows this. Everybody here understands this. So, yeah, we're just going to continue. With the purpose of reviewing or mocking the video, this criticism is at the heart of fair use doctrine. It would lose meaning without the reproduction of the plaintiff's video. And then noting, see Andy Warhol v. Goldsmith, commentary or criticism that targets an original work may have compelling reasons to conjure up the original by borrowing from it. As in Stebbins, defendant's live stream provided commentary on the nuke and sharp criticism of the claims made within the documentary. Throughout the live stream, defendant often paused the nuke to offer spontaneous reactions, engaged with her audience through a live chat, and provided real-time commentary interspersed with tangential discussions. And it lists some of the notable instances of me doing this. Further, the courts have recognized the differences in viewing experiences and the uses weigh in favor of finding a fair use. Religious Tech versus Netcom, because defendant's use of copyrighted material served a completely different function than that of the plaintiffs, this first factor weighs in defendant's favor. The difference in viewing experiences here is undisputed. Indeed, plaintiff states where the nuke seeks to expose how Piker radicalizes people online to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli, Denims attempts to use the nuke for the exact opposite purpose, to radicalize her audience to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli along with defending Hassan. And again, I keep seeing, I guess, like disingenuous liars or stupid people thinking that this is the judge saying, yep, Denims is anti-Semitic. It's like, do you not see the quotes? Do you understand how quoting something works? Do you understand what it means when someone says, plaintiff states, quote? Why are you giving me bombastic side-eye, Wormy? All right. Oh, okay, so sorry, I was reading some chat messages. What was I gonna say? When will Wormy be held accountable? Dude, that's what I've been saying for so long. Hold up. There's a point that I wanted to make. Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, again, as many of you guys, purveyors of React content, understand. I have personally watched videos and got so mad at the original video, I stopped watching it because I wanted to go watch somebody else explain everything that was wrong with the video.
Her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
And I'm like, I know, like, I'll watch like a man, I'm like, I know everything that guy just said is wrong. That's how I felt about H Bomber Guy's content for a very long time, where I was like, I need H Bomber Guy to cover this freak, to break down all of the things that are wrong with everything that he said, because I know what he said is wrong.
I don't like Denims, like, at all, because her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
Maple takes, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Nate, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you guys. And I'm sure many of you guys have felt this feeling before, where you're wanting to watch something, but you know it's all just like garbage, and you want to wait and see someone actually break it down succinctly. You want to know all of the things that the original person got wrong, and that's why you're consuming the reacted version to it. I know I've done that. I know I've personally watched React content, because I was like, I need someone to break this shit down. I need it. That's like 80% of my YouTube algo. Real. Mom, thank you for the prime. Soon, Jack of Us. Soon. It's why I watch Hassan for my news. Well, that's another good point. I think a lot of like CNN and CNBC is like, it's so much of mainstream media is hard to watch, because it's just like, oh, the bombs magically landed in Gaza. Really? They just landed there. Is that right? Who knows where they came from? They just landed there. Oh. Classic magical landing of bombs. Passive bombs, just teleporting there. And it's nice to see someone talk about or break down all of the things that are incorrect or poorly phrased, or disingenuous. And that's why people like React content. That's one of many reasons that people like React content. Alrighty. Continuing. In opposition, plaintiff presents unsuccessful arguments. This was pretty scathing. When I read this sentence the first time, I kind of went, oh, it's hot. It's hot off the press. Plaintiff presents unsuccessful arguments. First, plaintiff cites De Fontbrun versus Wofsy, I think is how you pronounce it, for the proposition that the purposes of the plaintiff's videos and defendant's live stream overlap to undermine defendant's transformative argument. Here, plaintiff has conceded that the purposes of both videos do not overlap by stating where the nuke seeks to expose how Hassan radicalizes people online to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli. Denim uses the nuke for the exact opposite purpose. Basically saying, hey, no take backsies. No take backsies. You said she used it for the exact opposite purpose. You don't get to say now. She used it for, it was the same, the purpose was overlapping. No take backsies. Additionally, the two subject videos are disparate from the subject works in De Fontbrun, which did overlap in nature. The Picasso project and the subject's photographs both presented the works of Picasso with the shared purpose of documenting Picasso's works. As previously established, the subject's videos in this matter do not share such an overlapping purpose. I would argue, this is a good example of this is basically saying, do you remember that one guy that DMCA'd? I think it was Ludwig. He had stick figure characters and he put a lot of time into these videos. Yeah, Mike. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Some shit like Gesundheit? No. Not Kurzgesagt. CGP Grey. That one. That guy actually probably would have had a pretty reasonable case of copyright infringement because the people watching the CGP Grey videos were in fact watching it to consume it and to not push back or to necessarily add anything. They were watching it to be oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. This guy, I don't know if you guys remember, I think he DMCA'd a couple creators. And I've always said, you know what, man? Go for it. Yeah. That is the purpose of DMCAing. That's the purpose. But going back to this, the subject videos in this matter do not share such an overlapping purpose. I would argue that a lot of the streamers that watched maybe this content, there was maybe some overlapping purpose. And the purpose was, I want someone to talk about half of America's state flags made the same mistake. Explain this to me. Whereas probably very few people were watching these videos and explaining the details of, the California flag and the history of the California flag and why the California flag was made the way that it was and so on and so forth and so on and so forth, right? They weren't pausing and giving more context. They weren't necessarily disagreeing. So if there was someone that probably could say, this here is overlapping purpose, that would be overlapping purpose, right? Watching a video and mostly agreeing with it, that would be overlapping purpose. The purpose is to educate people on American state flags, right? My coverage of the nuke was a different purpose. His coverage of the nuke, the nuke was meant to remove ads from, that was after the ad apocalypse or whatever. Yeah, it was after. The purpose of his nuke was to say Hassan is evil and bad and he should be banned. And here are all the reasons that Hassan is evil and bad. And Twitch should be held accountable and he should stop being shown on mainstream media. And the purpose of my reaction was, no, Omega lol. None of this is true. This is all nonsensical. And this feels like musings from an obsessed ex. So the purpose is different. And fans of the H3 show would probably not enjoy my coverage and have probably never enjoyed my coverage and probably don't particularly enjoy watching my coverage. And they probably wait for Ethan to go live to talk about how terrible and how much of a vile bitch I am. This is a vile human being. All right. What fans is crazy. Clearly anti-Semitism. All right. Second, plaintiff cites, I don't know this case, Monge v. Maya. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce this one. Where were we? For the proposition that the defendant engaged in wholesale copying sprinkled with spoken commentary, which the court in Monge found at best minimally transformative. Defendant's live stream went beyond merely reproducing or supplanting the nuke, however. Rather, as set forth above, the live stream incorporated real-time commentary, criticism, and analysis that altered the purpose and character of the original work. Accordingly, unlike the defendant in Monge, the defendant did not simply repackage or republish the underlying work with incidental commentary, but instead used the work in furtherance of a distinct, expressive purpose. So again, it's kind of like the SS Sniper Wolf content where she like shows a video and goes like, no way, whoa. The point is to profit off of the original success of the video, and there is no probably goal of transforming or arguing or adding, right? I genuinely wanted to watch the video and react to it and explain everything that was wrong about it because I knew it wasn't going to be good. I rewatched the 4-hour debate at work yesterday. The judge has hereby declared you have reacted hard enough, tentatively. For the foregoing reasons, the court finds the defendant's use to be transformative. Next is the second part of the first fair use factor involves whether the new use is commercial, i.e. whether the user stands to profit from exploitation of the copyrighted materials without paying the customary price. The more transformative the new work, the less will be the significance of the other factors like commercialism that may weigh against finding a finding of fair use. Basically, the more fair use and the harder you react, the less the money matters. Continuing. The commercial use factor concerns the degree to which the new user exploits the copyright for commercial gain, as opposed to incidental use as part of a commercial enterprise. The court in Draft Express found that even if the relevant video were considered at least partially commercial, its transformative nature offsets the significance of any commercialism. Many common fair uses are indisputably commercial. So Ethan made money off of his Haas case. He made money making fun of a bold guy, right? Him making money off of that video doesn't mean that it wasn't fair use or transformative. In fact, the more transformative the content, the less the money matters. The more the product is something completely new, the less the money that matters. The less that the money matters. Here, defendant contends that her use was not sufficiently commercial to outweigh the transformative. As defendant is a live streamer, she's eligible to receive subscriptions, donations, and advertising revenue during her Twitch broadcast, regardless of the content nature of her use. There is no doubt there was a commercial use of the subject work, but the court finds distinguishable defendant's use from the intentional exploitation of copyrighted works for monetary gain that preclude a finding of fair use. See generally Wall Data Inc. versus LA County Sheriff's Department. A commercial use is demonstrated by showing that repeated and exploitative unauthorized copies of copyrighted works were made to save the expense of purchasing authorized copies. So like watching like a maybe an anime react so you don't pay for Crunchyroll as an idea. Continuing. Although Whistle's social media presence may serve to promote its business and indirectly boost revenue, the commercial use factor concerns the degree to which the new user exploits the copyright for commercial gain, as opposed to incidental use as part of a commercial enterprise. Defendant's transformation of the original work heavily outweighs the commercial nature of the use. Because the defendant's use of the clip is transformative, the fact that Jersey Boys is a commercial production is of little significance. What is it, Wormy? Why'd she put her paw on me? What is it? What are you trying to tell me? Oh, okay. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted, Wormy? Some pets? I have no idea if this is what she wants. All right. I need water. Hold up. Oh my god, I haven't drank any water. My voice is starting to get hoarse. What? What is it? I don't know why she's being so weird. She's been so needy lately. The past, like, I would say week, she has been so needy. She just won't stop meowing and bothering me. My cat loves me too much, and it bothers me. Oh, Squirmy. Good, Squirmy. All right, continuing. Did I ever finish this? 1 second. Want some coffee? No, Wormy, you can't have coffee. But I can give you a tube later. I can give you a churro tube later. Good, Wormy cat. All right, sorry, I apologize. Get a little distracted. Cat owners understand. Pet owners understand. Sometimes your pet is just so cute and it bothers you, you know? Let's continue. Finding that a work's commercial qualities become less important where use is highly transformative. So again, just like the more you transform a work, the less important it is, the less the commercial use of the work matters. What matters is whether or not you are transforming, right? Accordingly, under the analysis of the first factor, the court finds defendant's use weighs in favor of fair use. Nature of the copyrighted work. Defendant avers that the documentary and informational nature of the nuke favors fair use. The second statutory factor recognizes that the nature of the copyrighted work. This factor recognizes that creative works are closer to the core of the intended copyright protection than informational and functional works, with the consequence that fair use is more difficult to establish when the former works are copied. So the second factor is basically just talking about, or like the nature of the copyrighted work, it's just talking about what are you making. So what is the content nuke, right? Reading an article that is just talking about what's happening in Gaza is going to be very low on the creative work protections. It's a description of the events that occurred. And yes, there might have been some creative liberties taken in the writing up of that work, but it's not a very creative piece. Versus, I don't know, like Has Been Hotel or something. Or like, let's pick something on YouTube that's free so it's a little bit more analogous. Like Digital Circus. The amazing Digital Circus. That is a very exclusively creative work. So reacting to something like that, the standard is higher, or like the transformativeness, the requirement for transforming is higher because of how because of how creative it is. When a work is very factual, very dry, and there are very few creative protections there, there's less to consider. When something is very creative, it has a lot more protections, which is pretty fair. If you write an original work, you write a book about, like, what is it in Pluribus? You write women's smut about the I forget the premise of the book. Little Bear, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. Yeah, the pirate lesbians. You write about pirate lesbians for female for a female audience, right? Um that's a pretty creative work. That's a pretty creative work. It deserves more protections. Someone shouldn't be able to like add
Shut
absolutely
up,
nothing,
socialist.
republish and profit, right? All right, so let's continue. Little Bear again, thank you so much for the raid. Skill Cylinder, thank you for the 10 gift subs. Thank you guys so much. Alrighty. The Ninth Circuit held that this factor addresses two aspects of the work: the extent to which it is creative and whether it is unpublished. The Ninth Circuit has held that that a product is creative, whereas the product of many technical and artistic decisions. With respect to publication, while a work's unpublished state would weigh against fair use, the converse is not necessarily true. The Ninth recognized, however, that this second factor has not been terribly significant in the overall fair use balancing. Basically, again, the end all be all is, did you transform the content and make something new? It's kind of the most important factor by a lot, more than anything else. Here, the nuke is a creative work with significant informational contents. As explained by the plaintiff, the nuke is a tragicomic documentary critiquing Hassan and Twitch. It contains original footage, highly edited montages, and parodic skits and archival materials. The nuke is divided into 7 sections. The first section walks the audience through Ethan's thesis of the nuke, that Hassan radicalizes his audience with genocidal and anti-Semitic terrorist propaganda. The second section involves a parody mocking how Twitch has embraced Hassan's extremist rhetoric. And the third section focuses on how Piker allegedly radicalizes his audience by glorifying and disseminating Houthi propaganda. Additionally, the fourth section focuses on Piker's interaction with Hezbollah propaganda. The fifth section focuses on Piker's interaction with Hamas propaganda. And the sixth section explores Twitch's alleged role in enabling Piker to violate Twitch's community guidelines. In the final section, Klein summarizes the two motivations for making the nuke, which are to stop Hassan's infiltration of mainstream media and to hold Twitch accountable for enabling anti-Semitic and anti-Israel animus on the platform. Accordingly, the court finds that the nature of the subject work weighs against finding a fair use as set forth above. However, this factor alone is not terribly significant in the overall fair use balancing. So basically, what the judge is saying is, yeah, your work is creative enough that it deserves copyright protection. However, it's not really significant when a work is transforming it so drastically. That's just what the second section is saying. This is also a judgment on the pleadings, which means that, like, we're just assuming everything that Ethan Klein said is accurate and everything in the document is accurate. If this were to be argued in a trial, it could be argued that, like, well, it's actually more factual than it is anything else because of this and this and this. But because that's new information, it doesn't come into play for a motion on judgment on the pleadings. So this is the judge's opinion just based on what Ethan has said. All right. I have a question. Is the judge saying one of the goals of the nuke is to suppress anti-Israel propaganda? No, the judge is saying that Ethan is saying that that was the goal. One very important thing to understand, guys, these motions, motion to dismiss or a motion for judgment on the pleadings, it assumes everything that the plaintiff has argued is factually correct. And despite the fact that you've assumed everything that the plaintiff has said is correct, they still lose. So the judge is not meant to argue against, and we are not meant to argue against what Ethan is saying. We're saying, let's accept everything you said as fact. You still should lose. Even if we accept everything you've said as fact, even with your so-called facts, you shouldn't win this ruling. So this is not, you don't argue against their arguments in a motion for judgment on the pleadings. You argue that at trial, if it gets to trial.
I don't like Denims, like, at all, because her camera is so fucking big, and it bothers me.
Heard the alert. Abusa, thank you for the 5 gift subs. I hope that explained it a little bit. I don't know how good my explanation was on that. I hope it was good. And you also construed in a light most favorable to the non-moving party. Correct. Okay. Continuing. The amount and substantiality of the portion in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. The third statutory factor asks whether the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole favors fair use. The third factor looks to the quantitative amount and qualitative value of the original work used in relation to the justification for that use. So basically, how much did you use and was it valid to have used that much of the work? Let's continue here. C. Haas. Again, another instance of the judge citing Ethan Klein's case against Haas that dubbed him the fair use king. Dude, I need to change one of the sub alerts to the Casey Tron tweet where she called him the free use king. Because I feel like I say that sometimes and people don't know that I'm referencing the amazing Casey Tron tweet where she calls him free use king. All right. Continuing. Why is this different from a motion to dismiss? What would make a motion to dismiss more difficult to get? Functionally, it is operating as a motion to dismiss. Functionally, right now, the motion for judgment on the pleadings is operating as a motion to dismiss, where we're asking the judge to make it go away because we have a reasonable defense. All right. Continuing. Where were we at? All right. Noting the third factor considers the proportion of the copyrighted work used and then how well tailored that use was to the allegedly infringing work's proper purpose, no matter how large or long the allegedly infringing work is. The law is clear, however, that quantity alone is not determinative. So, it is possible for you to use only a little bit of a work and it's not fair use. And it's possible to use the entirety of a work and it is clearly transformative, clearly fair use. That's what was ruled in the case with Stebbins, where they reacted to this video about Fallout and they watched the whole thing and sometimes replayed certain things. And they watched it multiple times in certain sections. And it did not rule against them because it's not saying if you use more, you lose. It's saying, did you use too much? Did you use how much you needed for your purpose? And if my purpose is I'm going to debunk and show everyone why this documentary sucks and explain every part of it and explain why it's so bad, I have to go piece by piece. I can't just cherry pick the parts that I can explain and ignore the parts that I can't explain. The purpose is to go through the entire thing and judge it as an entire piece. All right. Continuing. This factor circles back to the first factor because the extent of the permissible copying varies with the purpose and character of the use. The courts have found that copying another work in its entirety is not dispositive as to its infringement if necessary for the intended transformative use. See Haas. A great deal of plaintiff's work was copied, but such copying was plainly necessary to the commentary and critique. Stebbins. Even if the court were to credit plaintiff's claim that Kurtosis copied the entirety of the retrospective, that would not be dispositive. Kurtosis used the retrospective clips in order to further the live stream's transformative purpose of critical commentary. Finding the entire work necessary for the alleged infringer's intended use, and given the fact this court has acknowledged that this factor will not weigh against an alleged infringer even when he copies the whole work, if he takes no more than is necessary for his intended use. In Seltzer, the Ninth Circuit found that the copying of the entirety of the original work did not weigh against Green Day. So again, basically, did you use the correct amount of the work for your purpose? I'm arguing, of course I did. And I would say, here's a question. If you wanted to watch like the new or the old Lord of the Rings movie or whatever, if you wanted to watch a Lord of the Rings movie, and your option was going over to your buddy's house and having them interrupt every 2 minutes to be like, oh, this next part is good. This next part. Okay. So in the next part, Gandalf, is that the wrong one? Gandalf? And he's going to go to Sauron, and then Sauron's going to, and what you need to know about this shot was actually and you're like, dude, I just want to, can I watch the movie? Can I watch the movie? That's not public though. Okay. I know this is going to be hard to believe, but sometimes people make analogies that aren't perfectly analogous to prove a different point. So if you hold out for one moment, I'm going to get there. If your goal is to watch the Lord of the Rings movie and your buddy keeps interrupting it over and over and over and over and over again, at some point you're like, dude, I'm just going to go home and watch it myself. I'm actually good. I actually don't want to watch the movie. You know, I'm getting really hungry. You want to go get some food? I'm getting really hungry right now. We just had food 2 seconds ago. Fast metabolism, we should leave now. Why do I feel like I'm catching strays in this analogy? Because I'm catching strays in this analogy. Because I have to resist. I'm gripping the shit out of my fucking chair, being like, don't interrupt, don't interrupt, don't interrupt, don't interrupt. When I'm like watching movies with people.
Shut up, socialist.
Stop. Better example is when you watch a movie, do you say, can we watch the behind the scenes commentary version instead? No, you don't. Dude, I watched that once. I was like, damn, this is like ruining my experience of the original movie. I was like, I have to watch the original movie first before I can watch the version with like the editor or like the director's commentary on top. But what was I saying? Right. So the point is, using the entire work is not the end all be all. And in this case, in the Stebbins case where they used the entire work, it did not impact or weigh against the defendant. And in the case of Green Day, it did not weigh against Green Day. So yeah, you can react to the entirety of a work and use the entirety of the work, and it's still fair use. Here, defendant showed the entirely or nearly the entirety of the nuke. It is evident that to comment on, critique a work, clips of the original may be used. Citing Haas again, parody must be able to conjure up at least enough of that original to make the object of its critical wit recognizable. Copying does not become excessive in relation to the parodic purposes, merely because the portion taken was the original's heart. The court in Haas recognized that without using actual clips, the commentary and critique here would lose context and utility. Here, the extent and quality of importance of the video clips used by defendant was reasonable to accomplish the transformative purpose of critical commentary. Accordingly, the court finds this factor does not weigh against defendant. All right, 1 second. Is it ruling out if the judge still has to make it official? Judge still has to make it official. I'm going to, I'll answer these things again. I've been re-answering them, but I don't mind answering them a couple times. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions. Did you use more than you needed? I mean, in the tentative ruling, the judge does not seem to think so. What we're reading here is the tentative ruling or your motion. This is the tentative ruling. This is the judge's current tentative ruling, where they say that the court finds that this factor does not weigh against defendant. So tentatively, the judge feels that using the entire work does not weigh against me, and that I used as much as I needed to break down why that documentary was wrong and bad and terrible in a middle school project and whatever. What is a tentative ruling? Sorry if this has been answered. I explained it in this post a little bit. Basically, for those who are unfamiliar, tentative rulings are sometimes published in advance of hearings. So the tentative ruling was published on the 4th on Thursday, and the hearing was on the 5th, Friday, yesterday. And the tentative rulings are sometimes published in advance of hearings in the interest of streamlining the hearing. The tentative ruling is the position of the court before the hearing. So the fact that the tentative ruling is to grant my motion for judgment is incredible news. Hearing was earlier today. The judge has taken the matter under submission. An official ruling will be issued, hopefully sooner rather than later. So basically the judge is just saying, this is how I'm feeling like ruling unless my mind will be changed. And like 90% of the time, the ruling does not change. And especially in a case like this where the only factor so far that is weighed against me is, and it's not even against me, it's just, yeah, Ethan, your work is creative enough that you ought have copyright protections. There are enough creative elements and unique elements that you can have copyright protection on this. However, copyright protection does not mean that you just win everywhere. And for all of the other cases or all of the other factors, the judge tentatively feels that these factors weigh in my favor. Okay. Also wanted to answer this question again. 2 questions if you can talk about them. Is the ruling out or is the judge still? So the judge still has to again make it official, and that can be anywhere from a couple of days to a couple of months. So maybe we'll find out on Monday. Maybe we'll find out in a week. Maybe we'll find out in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll find out in a month. We don't know. It just depends on when the judge feels like ruling on it, or not feels like ruling on it, but rather whenever they get to it, because, judges tend to have a lot of backlog and a lot of cases that they have to get to. Okay. Do you think he's going to be? I have no idea. He didn't stream about it at all. I don't know. The thing is, this is just, again, speculation and conjecture on my part. I feel like a big part of the lawsuits for Ethan were, I think some of it was ego.
I don't like Denims.
And I think it sucks. It sucks to have people criticize you on the internet.
And it bothers me.
He spent all this time making this video, and I made fun of it, and I called it, trash, and I said it was incomprehensible in a middle school project, and I did say I was gonna die of cringe watching it. And I get it, man, that sucks. But that is also the internet. That is what he does to other people's works. That's what he grew his channel doing. He grew his channel making fun of other people's works. And if you dish it out, I don't know that it's wrong to say that you should be able to take it, right? But I think it's like it gets to a point where people just feel very unfairly targeted, even though it's not unfair. So I think some of it is just he doesn't want people to talk about him negatively, and it makes him sad that people talk about him negatively. But also, a lawsuit is it's crazy. A lawsuit is crazy work. I think that was a big part of it, but I also think that it was an opportunity for easy clout. It was an opportunity to get people to stop criticizing him about Israel and get them to start talking about this lawsuit. I think it was something to revitalize his audience. I think he wanted people who criticized him to stop criticizing him, and I think he wants to win. I think he wants to win on the internet, for a lack of better words. I think he wants people to cheer him on, and I think he wants people to stop being mean to him. But it's kind of like a Streisand effect kind of thing, where the more you push back, the more people want to bully. And the thing that's sad is, like, I've said so many times to Ethan, sure, let's bury the hatchet. Sure, let's debate. And then he ran away from that. Hey, man, anytime you want to, you can use this as an opportunity right now to rehabilitate. He could have easily used the content nuke to rehabilitate his image, And he just didn't. He didn't want to. So, hey, man, whenever This poor chatter. So you wanted a few factors of the lawsuit. I'm a little late to the chat. No, I wanted all of them except for the one that says that, yeah, it's a creative work and it deserves protection. And then the judge immediately follows it with this comment, which is, as set forth above, however, this factor alone is not terribly significant in the overall fair use balancing. It's also not a pass-fail kind of thing. It's a, you judge all of the factors together. Are you saying he supports Israel? Didn't he say that you just shouldn't kill them? I mean, he literally apologized on his TikTok for rehabilitating the image of Israel, and he understood what he did was wrong. So you don't have to speak to me. You can go argue with Ethan about Ethan. He made a TikTok saying, you know, I didn't realize how insensitive my comments were, and it came off like supporting Israel, talking about how diverse it is and how I really want to travel there. Like, he literally apologized for his commentary whitewashing Israel. So if you want to be critical of anyone at not killing them, no. Are you listening to the words I'm saying, buddy? You good little buddy? Here he is apologizing for being pro-Israel.
I came back to TikTok to defend myself against wild accusations, but I also came back because I want to apologize for things that I genuinely got wrong. For example,
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents, and I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just, it's a beautiful place.
This is whitewashing Israel. They're actively conducting a genocide, and you're talking about how, can you imagine saying this about Germany? Germany is actively opening fucking concentration camps, and you're like, it's just such a beautiful place. You know, I just need to show you guys how diverse and multicultural Germany really is. And even he realized how tone deaf this was and apologized for it.
Places I've ever been.
looking back, I definitely feel ashamed for the way I spoke about Israel with such levity at the time that a genocide was happening. I completely understand why people could watch this clip and judge me harshly for it. I want to apologize to anyone in the Palestinian diaspora or anybody that's been affected by this war that felt that I was trivializing the suffering, the horror that you've gone through. And for that, I deeply am sorry, and I'm ashamed of this clip. I came back to TikTok.
I'm literally asking questions. You're trying to put me down. When you don't clarify his comments, I clarified them. You just didn't listen to the words I said. Everything I said was completely accurate. And it took me having to show you a video to understand. That's on you, man. That was in response to someone else. What are you talking about? He literally watched his own video. Oh, you're saying your comment was in response to someone else. Okay. I apologize. It doesn't show me when you at people because you're not adding anyone. You're just like pressing the reply button. So, do you understand? He literally apologized for whitewashing Israel and saying, I can't wait to show you guys how diverse it is. So, it has nothing to do with not killing them. He used his platform to present Israel as, you know, this like glorious, this wonderful, multi-diverse, multicultural place while they're actively murdering and genociding an entire people. And it was so bad, he realized it and apologized. He apologized. That's how bad it was. So when I say that, I'm not saying it because it's my opinion. I'm saying it because it was his opinion. Why are you saying he supports Israel? Because he said so and then apologized for it. Unless you think I shouldn't quote him speaking about himself. All right, continuing. Where were we? Oh man, this is taking a while. I still had more stuff I wanted to get to. Well, it's okay. We can always just do more stuff on Sunday. It would be like saying South Africa is a great place to have a holiday in the 70s. Yeah. Is Denims a suit girl now? Well, everyone else is wearing suits, and I was like, I want to wear a suit. It would make me fun. It would make me happy. It would be fun. So I thought I could do one. I could suit up. I figure everyone else is LARPing. Why shouldn't I? I think it looks kind of good too. I'll take like a full picture in the fit. All right. Let's see. Yes, you can copy an entire work as long as it's transformative. According to this factor does not weigh against defendant. And finally, the fourth factor. All right. Did you see the slop tuber call you female Hassan? I actually play video games, so like, how could I possibly be female Hassan? And I also don't suck at video games, so again, how could I possibly be Hassan? Hello? His camera is his head is too small, my camera is too big. Come on. Pay to expose yourself as a fucking idiot, dude. all right, enough. Effect of the use on the potential market. The fourth factor asks what effect the allegedly infringing use has on the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. This factor considers the extent of the market harm caused by the particular actions of the alleged infringer, but also whether unrestricted and widespread conduct of the sort engaged in by the defendant would result in substantially adverse impact on the potential market for the original. Where the allegedly infringing use does not substitute for the original and serves a different market function, such factor weighs in favor of fair use. So basically, if you go to the store and you really want to buy, I don't know, eggs, and they also have some chicken at the store, the egg company can't be like, dude, we need to sue Big Chicken. They're stealing our customers. They wanted to buy eggs. They only bought chicken because because it's like, no, the people who wanted to buy eggs are going to go buy eggs, and the people who want to buy chicken are going to go buy chicken. It's a different market. It's just, there are different markets for different things. It's not really that surprising. If you only play shooters and you would never play like a MOBA, it would be hard to argue that there's some market substitute when a new MOBA comes out that, I don't know, like has a similar vibe to some shooter because it might be a fundamentally different market. So the people who want to see someone clown on Ethan Klein and his video, that's a different market than the people that want to watch some slop tuber or some slop content on Hassan, right? So we'll just read ahead. Where the allegedly infringing use does not substitute for the original, serves a different market function, such factor weighs in favor of fair use. In Campbell, the court found that when a use is transformative, market substitution is at least less certain, and market harm may not be so readily inferred. Indeed, as to parody, pure and simple, it is more likely that the new work will not affect the market for the original in a way cognizable under this factor, that is, by acting as a substitute for it. Thus, where the original work and the new work serve different market functions such that there is no market substitution, the new work is more likely to be fair use. Defendant's live stream is not a market substitute for the nuke because someone watching the former will have a very different experience from watching the latter, and then it cites Haas again. It cites Ethan Klein's iconic fair use case. Anyone seeking to watch The Nuke, a scripted and edited documentary, would have a distinctly different experience watching defendants' fragmented start and stop live stream, which featured spontaneous reaction, live chat interaction, sharp criticism throughout, and extrinsic source material. Now, again, these arguments can't be made in the motion for judgment on appeals because we're only arguing the facts as the plaintiff presents them, as Ethan Klein presents them. But I want to ask you guys a hypothetical question. You guys ever watch a streamer watch a video and they keep pausing so much, you get so mad, you close the video and you just go and watch the original? That's happening because you just wanted to watch the original. and you didn't want to watch someone sit there and pause and comment and pause and comment and pause and comment, which is a very different experience than when you're watching a video and you're there for the commentary. You're there and you're like, I want to know why what he just said was wrong. Explain it. And again, I feel this way when I'm watching like H-Bomber Guy, where I'm like, okay, I know this fucking, what's that one guy, Paul Joseph Watson? I know what he said is wrong. I know what he said is wrong, but I don't know why what he said is wrong. Explain it to me. Tell me, Paul Walker, whatever the fuck his name is. And so it's very enjoyable to watch someone break something down. And the more they break it down, the better the experience is. The people who came to watch me react and break it down, they didn't want to watch a video of just complete, frankly, propaganda. They wanted someone to explain why everything in it was completely wrong and idiotic and moronic and stupid, which is why they watched the stream. They were there for the react. Otherwise, you would have just went and watched the video. Okay, now continuing from here, anyone seeking to watch the nuke, a scripted and edited documentary, would have a distinctly different experience. Okay, and then C. Stebbins, finding a lack of market substitution because anyone seeking to watch the live streams would have a fundamentally different viewing experience than a person seeking to watch the retrospective. And then it cites Haas. Again, anyone seeking to enjoy the original on its own will have a very different experience watching the reaction video. And this is what I mean when I say it's a, you know, when you see it, it's a different experience. Watching someone clown on a YouTuber is a different experience than watching the YouTuber make the video that they wanted to make. In the same vein, the people that watched the Content Cop through Ethan Klein's lens watched it because they wanted to see how Ethan could possibly weasel out of some of these things. I know that's why I watched it. I was like, what response could he possibly have for this? I need to know. If I wanted to watch the original in its entirety, I would watch the original in its entirety. If, in fact, I would even argue his pauses took away from the original in terms of like different value. Like if I wanted to watch someone try and make a bunch of succinct points and then tie them all together, watching his stream prevented me from being able to do that because I'm getting this constant start and stop and start and stop. And it doesn't even feel like Ian is getting an opportunity to like string these points together. So, all right, continuing. Only I went to the hearing yesterday. I think Ethan was live streaming the show yesterday at the time of the hearing. Okay, moving on from this. A person wishing to purchase sheet music for Magic in order to play or perform a song would necessarily purchase the sheet music for the song itself from owner of the performance right, not the sheet music for Rainmaker. And then Kelly v. Ariba Softcore, finding no market harm where a person could not use the allegedly infringing work, a thumbnail photograph, a photograph as a substitute for copyrighted high-resolution photograph. Indeed, plaintiff's own allegations suggest as much. And then here the judge is quoting the Ethan Klein original filing to himself. Denims attempts to use the nuke for the exact opposite purpose, to radicalize her audience to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli, along with defending Hassan. And then the Hugh versus Benjamin case is cited. There, the court held, here there is no danger that SJW levels awareness will usurp the market of progressive commentaries such as We Thought She Would Win. Benjamin's target audience, generally political conservatives and libertarians, is obviously not the same as Hugh's target audience, generally political liberals. Moreover, although SJW levels of awareness is entirely comprised of portions We Thought She Would Win, there is no reason to think that Hugh's audience will abandon her progressive YouTube channel to watch the derisively entitled SJW levels of awareness on a conservative YouTube channel simply because it contains parts of her work. So basically, the H3 fans would only be coming to watch my stream because they want to see what I have to say about it. If they wanted to watch his video, they would watch his video. The other thing too is hold up. Okay. I'll talk about this later. Let's continue. Accordingly, the court finds that the defendant's live stream is not a market substitute for the nuke because 3 of the 4 fair use factors strongly favor defendant, including the most important factor, purpose and character of the use. The court concludes that the fair use defense applies as a matter of law, thus the defendant's motion for judgment on the pleadings is granted. Conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, the court grants defendant's motion for judgment on the pleading. The court orders defendant to prepare and submit a proposed judgment in this matter within 7 days of this order. It is so ordered. So this is, again, something that is very important to note. This is a tentative ruling. So we will find out in the next coming days or weeks whether or not this ruling goes through, but it's very, very good news because generally it's pretty rare that a tentative ruling is changed. So, I am very excited. When are you getting the "it is so ordered" tattoo? There is a good chance that he appeals. There is a good chance that there is more fighting to be had with regard to the other case with the countdown episode. There's still a lot. So it is still very much so up in the air with a lot of things. But this is very, very, very good news. Don't be too excited. Ethan could bring up Kayagate evidence. Stop. Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm really hopeful. I think there's a very good chance that this motion passes. And I also think that what you have to understand is that this is very important, what I'm about to say. All of this assumes what Ethan said is correct. This is just how the law works. When it comes to motion for judgment on the pleadings, this is just how the law works. You assume everything that the plaintiff is saying is true. If we were to go to court and not have to assume everything that Ethan is saying is correct, it'll be slam dunk. Because there are so many things that Ethan has said in his original filing that are like kind of insane. If this passes, does it include the countdown? No, it does not. The countdown is its own case.